Elise Gray.
No, please, not me. I want to go home. I didn't sign up for this. I didn't even feel the first cut. But I heard it. I heard the sound of me being erased. Mom used to braid my hair every morning. Now, there's nothing left. It's not just hair. It's me. It's all of me. Is it over?
Stand up.
Elise lost more than hair. She lost her voice. Subscribe to Barber Stories, where every haircut tells the truth.
Elise Gray didn't come from money. She came from a place where futures were handed out like leftover newspapers, damp, folded, and easy to miss. So when the envelope arrived, she held her breath. A wax seal in deep crimson, her name in elegant gold lettering, a head letter that read, Marlington Academy for Girls, established 1894. A full scholarship, room and board, a personal note. Elise Gray, we believe you have what it takes to become more.
I was shaking, not out of fear, out of hope. I thought, maybe this is the beginning of something real.
The campus was breathtaking. Towering spires veiled in morning mist, sculpted hedges that looked like they hadn't breathed real air in decades, and girls, all in charcoal uniforms, moving quietly like clockwork through courtyards. Elise stepped out of the car, gripping her suitcase with both hands. The air was sharper here, like it didn't tolerate uncertainty. A tall woman in a fitted navy suit approached. She didn't smile. She simply extended a clipboard and a gloved hand.
Name.
Elise Gray.
Leave your phone. We do not permit external distractions on campus.
Just like that, her world shrunk. No signal, no photos, no outside line. She handed over her phone, something twisted in her stomach. As she followed the woman toward the dorms, Elise noticed it. Girls walking past, heads down, eyes blank. Every single one had the same haircut, a uniform buzz no longer than an inch. Some had scratches on their scalps. Others had red, irritated skin. No one wore earrings. No one wore emotion. Elise blinked. Was it a coincidence? A tradition? She asked the woman beside her.
Do all the girls cut their hair short?
You'll be briefed at orientation.
That was the answer. No smile, no elaboration. They reached dormitory B. Inside, every room looked identical. White walls, gray sheets, a single drawer. Her name was stitched into a patch on the pillow, as if someone had known she would say yes before she ever did. She unpacked slowly, running her fingers through her long auburn hair. A ribbon fell from her suitcase, one her mom had tied in before she left.
I looked in the mirror and thought, please don't take this part of me.
That night, she heard something. Not voices, not footsteps, but silence. A silence so absolute, it felt rehearsed. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Everyone else slept like they were drugged or trained. The narrator, low, haunting. Elise wasn't scared. Not yet. But something inside her had already begun to whisper. This place isn't what it says it is.
The summons came at 6 a.m. sharp, a single line on a hallway notice board. First years, report to sub-level Hall 3 for orientation. No one told them where that was. They were expected to know, or obey. Elise followed the others, a quiet procession of pale faces and hunched shoulders, down a narrow stairwell that felt more like a service tunnel than part of a school. The hallway was wrong. Sterile tiles, flickering fluorescent lights, and in the center of the space, a single black chair. A cape hung over it like a warning. Beside it, trays of metal tools, clippers, gloves. A large steel bin marked hazardous material, biological. They weren't in a school anymore. A woman in a lab coat, not a blazer, not a badge, stepped forward, clipboard in hand. She didn't introduce herself.
All incoming students are required to undergo processing. Hair removal is mandatory for purposes of hygiene, uniformity, and psychological alignment.
No explanations, no comfort, just the sound of buzzing. Girls stepped forward, one by one. Each returned quieter than before. Elise stood frozen. She tried not to breathe, tried not to cry. But every time the buzzing began again, her throat tightened, her hands curled into fists. Then came her name.
Elise Bray.
She sat slowly. The cape was pulled tight around her neck. She wanted to speak, to scream, but her lips parted, and nothing came out. Just air, just fear. The first pass ripped through the crown of her head.
I didn't even feel the first cut, but I heard it. I heard the sound of me being erased.
Strand after strand slid down her shoulders. Some clung to her tears, others floated to the floor like feathers. She began to cry, quietly at first, then harder. It wasn't elegant, it wasn't restrained. She sobbed, she choked, she wept for the hair she'd grown since childhood, for the braids her mother had woven, for the girl she used to be and the girl she would never get back. The clippers kept going. No one comforted her. No one said, "It's okay," because it wasn't. When it was over, she opened her eyes. There was no mirror, just a small reflective panel on the far wall. She stared at it. She didn't recognize what she saw, the roundness of her skull, the rawness of her expression. Her face looked naked, exposed, too vulnerable to belong to someone still alive. The staffer removed the cape. More hair fell to the floor. Elise stood, her legs shaking, her lips quivering, and for one moment, just one, she looked down at the pile of hair and nearly collapsed. It wasn't a haircut, it was a funeral.
Time passed, but Elise did not heal. Her hair, or what remained of it, grew in slowly, but something else inside her had stopped growing altogether. Trust, safety, self. She had learned to stay quiet, to blend in, wake up, move in silence, obey, repeat. But she never stopped watching. She noticed things others seemed too broken to question. The staff didn't act like teachers. They didn't teach, they monitored. Students weren't praised, they were measured. And always, always there were eyes, security cameras, clipboards, whispers between doors. Elise began wandering during permitted meditation periods. She walked paths she wasn't supposed to know existed. Behind the infirmary, she found a door she'd never seen before. Plain, gray, locked with a keypad. She didn't have a code, but she had curiosity and a photographic memory. Earlier that week, she'd seen one of the lab coat staff enter a series of digits. She'd memorized the sequence. Now she stood in front of the keypad and whispered the numbers. Elise, soft, focused.
4, 1, 9, 7, 2, 5. Enter.
Inside was a lab, cold, sterile, humming machines and soft glowing screens, tubes, vials, cabinets filled with files and labeled containers, and on the wall a digital board with photos of girls, subjects. Elise stepped closer. Her own face stared back at her. Subject 64, gray, Elise. Pre-admission hair length, 26 inches. Post-shave DNA sample, archived, A13. Stress response, elevated. Compliance phase, pending. There were graphs, charts, heart rate under pressure, hormone changes after shaving, mood fluctuations over 14 days. They had mapped her trauma, not to help her, to study her. She moved further in, reaching a sealed cabinet labeled Non-Consent Archive. Inside were folders, documents, contracts signed not by students, but by guardians. Fine print allowed biological and behavioral testing for academic research. They had never asked the girls. They had asked their parents. This wasn't a school. It was a laboratory. And Elise? She was never a student. She was a case study. Voices, footsteps. She ducked behind a row of shelves just in time. 2 staff members entered, both in lab coats.
Subject 64's response is promising. Emotional breakdown lasted 4 minutes longer than average.
The compliance curve is improving. We'll begin integration trials next week.
If this model succeeds, the program can scale to 6 more academies by next quarter.
Elise stayed crouched, barely breathing until they were gone. Then she moved quickly. She grabbed a flash drive from a desk drawer and plugged it into the main console. Downloaded every file she could find, her name, her peers, the shaving room blueprints, the experiment contracts. She didn't cry, not now. There was no time for grief, just truth and escape. She slipped out into the hallway, heart racing, and as she climbed the stairs back to her dorm, she whispered,
They thought they erased me, but I remember everything now, and I'm going to make sure the world remembers too.
Elise didn't have a perfect plan. She had a flash drive in her sock, a stolen key card, and a single chance. That night, the storm came. Real rain, real wind, and Elise quietly walked out of her room like she'd done 100 times before. She kept her hood up, kept her pace steady. No hesitation, no eye contact, just another girl going to the laundry room. She slipped into the back corridor. No cameras here, just rusted machines and an old wall covered in moss. She climbed on top of the washing unit, reached for the low ledge, and gripped the edge with shaking hands. It was wet, slippery, her fingernails bent back, one bled. She almost fell, but she didn't. She pulled herself up and over the wall like she was escaping a cage. On the other side, a steep, muddy drop. She slid, crashed, landed hard. She stood up, knees scraped, fingers trembling. No hair to hide behind, no path. But she ran anyway, through bushes, over roots, across the hidden trail she'd memorized from her dorm window. She didn't know where she was. She only knew she wasn't in Marlington anymore. And that was enough. 12 hours later, she stepped into the lobby of a newsroom. Dirty, soaked, bald, but clear.
I have evidence about Marlington.
Within hours, the story exploded. Photos, contracts, videos, names. The school was shut down. The lab dissolved. Staff fled or resigned. And Elise? She disappeared from the headlines. She moved in with her aunt by the sea. Didn't speak much. Didn't need to. She let the wind breathe where her hair used to be. And one morning, she looked in the mirror. Still bald, still healing, but hers again.
They shaved my head, but they didn't erase me.
All over the country, girls started speaking up. Some cut their hair, some let it grow, but this time, by choice. They reclaimed their heads and their stories. Sometimes it takes losing what you thought defined you to find what truly does. And sometimes a girl with a shaved head becomes the voice the world can't ignore.